What the heck is a quadlock?
Watch this to find out. Whether you're in the car, on the bike, on the water, in the air, your phone is an important tool. Keep it secure with quadlock.
I'm glad you put that in because I know in New Zealand it was an absolute shit fight. Commentary didn't know what was going on, teams didn't know what was going on. There's a pole check getting rolled down at the wrong time.
If it's drifting, it's a fucking terrible idea. You shouldn't have drifting in the middle.
I reckon they'll change it now because we'll drop this before obviously the round and then we'll look completely stupid. What strategy will you roll? Oh my God, I love putting you in this spot.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's usually something you, while driving, having this chat over a few laps, which is, can you give me 6 minutes?
Yeah, no worries.
And someone way smarter than me on the other end of the phone to help me.
You're waiting for Andrew Edwards to send you a text or something, mate.
Oh no! He's in the fence! The boat's in the fence! They're all in the fence! Oh, unbelievable!
Sound check.
Sound check.
Cheers, mate.
Jeez, you didn't shake this one up on me.
No, the last night one was a frother. We had Frosty on the pod last night, which we were going to switch these around. So the first one that will go out is the one we're recording right now. Episode 49 is the Tasmania prebrief, as we always do, prebriefing the Supercar event. But we did have an amazing chat last night with Frosty, and that will go out the week after Tasmania, probably the Monday after, actually. I'm going to schedule that one. But yeah, it was an unreal chat, wasn't it? It was really good to have him at the bar.
It's I say it every time. I don't know how we're going to get better and better, but we seem to do it every episode.
Well, yeah, luckily we it's up to the guests really, but the Murph one was really good, and I'm glad we did it prior to the Frosty one because Murph gave us a bit of insight into what he thinks drivers can gain out of a mentor and someone like even himself and what he's doing for Woody. And then Frosty kind of went into that as well with discussing his role with the Tickford young drivers in Super 2. So it was actually good timing, I think, to do one before the other and get a bit of insight from Frosty and where he's at in life as well, his life experiences, and how he's passing that on to the Super 2 kids. But let's get into Tasmania, mate. It's as I said, we're nearly splitting the hundy in terms of episodes. But if you haven't already, subscribe, turn notifications on. We will be live streaming a little bit across the weekend for Tasmania because it's one of those unique ones where we're actually at home for. So I'll be in here and I'll plug it in. And so if you want to join us, make sure that you have sub with notifications on so you get that.
Let's do a sidecast.
Yes,
On Sunday.
It's been a while.
I'll do I'll
78 lapper.
Come in and we'll just sink a couple of tins and watch the race with the fans.
Yes, if you want to join us, we'll go live on YouTube for that one.
Cool.
But I'm looking forward to this weekend. It looks like it's going to be a good one. But one quick one I wanted to give a shout out to is actually Super Spill. Some old friends of mine from Team 18 days are sponsoring the Blanchard Super 2 car. They're naming rights on that in Tasmania, so keep an eye out for that car and
Bailey Sweeney.
cheer them on. Yes.
Very
so cheer
cool.
those guys on and unreal guys, just some really good people. So good luck to those guys and hopefully for Blanchards too, they have a better run in main series this weekend because Taupo was tough.
Well, it will be interesting to see how BRT go because of a lot of changes, new chassis. They got Dennis there now.
Yep.
It'll be exciting to see how they do go.
Yeah, for sure. Patreon as well. Don't forget to, if you'd like to, give us a bit more extra support on there. I'll chuck all the links in the description of this video. For all the sponsors that you see on the screens behind us, and if you're traveling to a supercar round, get the 15% off discount with AHU15 East Coast Car Rentals. Trico products, if it's coming up to winter. You might have some shit wiper blades in your car, you need to upgrade them. Make sure you hit up Trico. Lancaster Motor Group, if you're in the market for a new car, get those guys. And Shaw & Partners as well. We mentioned briefly what they're about, what they do, but I'll put their website in the description of this video. And if you are looking at investing or some wealth management support, have a look at that website and see what the guys and girls at Shaw & Partners Financial Services do. Of course, Quadlock too, mate. Can't not shout those guys up. We use their product every day on the podcast.
We do.
Not just the cases, but all their mounts as well, and even the new action cam twist mounts they've got.
Yeah, very cool.
So check out their products. But big race weekend coming up, mate. The format is a little bit different to last year. Last year they only ran 2 races at Tasmania, both 55 lappers. So the race is on Saturday, 5 laps shorter. There's 2 of the bad boys, 120 kilometres for both races. I don't really understand why we're using the 2024 tyre still so much. But this weekend there's only the one race.
Is that just because
over
they had allocation is going to burn them up? Like, did they have an overflow and they're like, well, we've got to use them?
Honestly, I have no idea. Like we talked about in Sydney, the Dunlop guys were telling me we've solved all the problems for supercars and the tyre's going to be amazing, the racing's going to be better. And then we're going back to a 2024 tyre that apparently was a problem. Everyone was complaining about the tyre not being able to recover, not being able to race each other. which I don't actually.
Seems logical though.
It does seem like something they would do, but I don't actually think it is that bad anyway. Like, I'm just puzzled as to why we celebrated this 2025 tyre and now we keep going back to an old one.
Dipping back into the old batch.
It's like we've got them there and we need to use them up.
Probably.
But the racing at Taupo, it's not to say it's going to be shit, because the racing at Taupo on the old tyre was still unreal. I mean, it might have even been the best racing of the weekend on the old tyre, so I'm not saying it's going to be shit because of that.
That 2024 Super Soft, that deg's harder though, right? So will that give opportunity for good racing?
I think so.
Yeah.
And also, like Tassie, one of the good things which we'll get into is the tyre. What tyres you take in a pit stop isn't that clear cut. It's like you could take 2, 3 or 4 on Saturday's races. So it's one of those races that actually you don't really know what's going to be best until you look back in hindsight. So with a tyre that does deg, I think it will be, it'll be good. I think it'd be better. I think if you run the new tyre and it doesn't deg at Tassie, the racing could be boring. You do 2 tyres and then it doesn't deg and you just...
I'm thinking out loud here. Is that why they're using obviously they've got to use them, but the 2024 Super Soft, because it's a place like Tassie that without big deg is hard to pass potentially?
It could be, but
But let us know if that's the case.
Yeah, and it actually could be, but...
You don't want me thinking out loud too much.
You just don't want to celebrate something so much and then have to explain why we're going backwards.
Yeah.
It was like the chassis, like when Supercars were like blowing up this big thing about how amazing the chassis builder is at Erebus, which I'm sure it is, but it's a control component. So why are we saying it's great? And then obviously when the rumours come around about it being wrong, it wasn't wrong in the end. It was a supercar rule that someone had taken advantage of. It just got quietened down. So I think you got to be careful when you celebrate something so hard and then you go, oh, we're going back to the 2024 tyre with no explanation.
It's almost the same as if you go, we're running Gen 3 cars this weekend, but in Tassie we're going to bring out the car of the future.
Yeah, because it's better. You just don't want to explain it. But yeah, so it's 2 races on Saturday, both 120 kilometres. The first race is on the 2025 tyre.
Yep.
And then the second one is on the 2024 Super Soft. Sunday.
Well, that'll tell us what's better.
Yeah.
It should do. Having that direct comparison, same distance, same day.
Yeah, and providing I've done my homework, I think that's the best way to do this as well, because 2025 tyre, no one will have data on there. So the strategy will be a bit of an unknown.
Yep.
I think that's a good way of doing it. Do that first, and then the old tyre where everyone has data on that.
Yeah.
In the second race is a great idea. Sunday, 200 kilometres of racing. I think it's good we're going back to 3 races at Tassie, because the format there last year was only the 2 55 lappers, I think it was, and it was all right, but Tassie always has good racing. So
and they get good crowd down there too.
Yeah.
Tasmanians love motorsport, so there'll be people on the fence, so you got to give them some racing.
Bloody oath, mate. So I think they've done a good thing there. The Sunday race, so Saturday's races, you got to do 1 compulsory pit stop in both.
Yep.
But you can do 2 tyres, 3 tyres or 4 tyres. But Sunday's race is a 2-stop race.
Right.
And fuel in both of those. So
yep.
I think the fuel, from what I've heard so far, covers a 4-tyre stop. So it'd be almost a no-brainer. It sounds like you're going to do a 4-tyre stop, but yeah, I don't know if someone will be able to do a 2 or 3-tyre stop and get track position and hang on if fuel doesn't cover it and I'm wrong.
Asking the hard questions here, mate. Is it a full 25 litre drop
or no,
they have to do, or you can just, is that where they can strategize it a bit there?
Well, I think what's going to be hard is for that exact question, I don't know the answer, but what they're going to have to do this weekend is, like Sydney, they won't have a clear indication of where they'll drop out onto the track after their pit stop because of the fuel churn, which is great. And especially at a track that's so short like Tasmania, you could have 4 or 5 cars slot into somewhere you thought you were going to be. So that will be interesting. But I think what teams will do is probably fill the churn with the exact amount they want so that they can try and estimate, I guess, as accurately as possible where they'll drop out. So they'll go, okay, 25 litres or 27 litres should put us in this gap. Because the guy doing the fuel, he's just going to have to then wait until it's empty and pull out as soon as he can, rather than trying to guess when to pull out. So I think that's what teams would do, is probably fill the churn to the exact amount they want, run it.
Yeah, this is worst case, and then if we call you to pull it out earlier, do it.
Yeah. But it does also bring up that Sydney, a lot of the teams were saying that you want the churn full so that it pushes the fuel out. So gravity's fast, so the fuel is faster. So I don't know. I love that they've done this fuel churn thing, because that's something we're talking about now. And everyone got so good at their standard fuel stop with the light and everything. I think this is there's more variables involved, and I think it's going to be really good at a place like Tassie where the track is so short and so many cars could drop in front of you where you thought you'd be.
The other thing with Tas is pit exit is not that simple there. It's really narrow, so as you're exiting, it's lined by Armco, and you just fit a car down it basically.
Yeah.
And it's not straight, and then you pull out basically right at the apex of turn 2.
Yeah.
And it's because of the Armco, you can't actually see who's coming, what's going on. So communication with the team there is really important. You quite often see people stuff it up.
Yep.
It causes throws a bit of a spanner amongst the works. But also where they've got someone at the end that might be giving you a wave or something, it's that far before you actually enter the track too.
Yeah.
Like they wave, but because the car's so fast, it's just so hard to judge. So that'll be something to look for. It's always a big one during like qual and practice too, like hot sessions.
It's hard.
People coming out, someone's on a hotter, like a hottie.
Yep.
Someone comes out in front of you or drags shit on the track because they've tried to avoid someone. And it's another variable to keep your eyes out for the weekend, because that can be a bit tricky about Tassie.
Yeah, even like in qualifying, one of the biggest things I always remembered was if you had to give way to someone on track, because it's your job in qualifying to enter the track without holding up the... You're right there, mate? You're not going to cark it on me?
Wrong hole.
Jesus.
It is much safer.
But yeah, Tassie, if you're on greens and you stop because you got the blue flag and you need to let the guys on hot laps go, it's quite hard when you go, okay, I'm clear, and you go to take off, and on the new tyre you get wheel spin, and all of a sudden it's not like accelerating 0 to 100 in 4 seconds, just sitting there doing a burnout. And when you join, if the gap's small, you can very easily still drive out in front of someone and fuck their lap or crash. And so it's actually, you almost... It's a judgment thing where you try and keep rolling on the exit so you don't come to a complete stop. But picking a gap is really hard. In the race, you pretty much close your eyes and just gas it onto the track and hope you don't get T-boned. It's like, and it never gets easier, because even the guy on track, if you come in there, because you'll see someone exiting, right? And you're like, fuck, I got to go deep and try and get him. But then you lock a front and you're like...
He can't turn.
You think, oh, fuck, I'm just going to T-bone this guy. So it's a bloody tough pit exit, and it's also a tough one when you're on the racetrack trying to make a spot but not crash.
I reckon it's worse when you're on the track too, because you're coming, you can see like a roof line, you're like, you bastard, you're not going to block me here. And you're like,
you go deeper than
you go in hot, then
before.
you can't turn the thing. You try and use curb, it bounces you into their door or something.
Yeah.
Because the curb there on the inside is quite big, as you know. So if you hit that,
you can bounce off.
Like trying to get the thing to turn, it sometimes actually...
100%.
So it'll be good to. I'm sure something will happen there at some point.
Yeah, I think Tassie is one of those tracks that has got to stay on the calendar. I love that. I've always enjoyed the place, and the racing's exciting.
It's hard as like you've obviously raced main game there a lot, mate. It's very physical because you get, although it's really 2 drag strips and a couple of squiggles. The straight down the back's got a turn in it.
Yeah,
like it's actually quite physical. I found we raced there not long ago in Trans Am, and it's a busy little lap.
Yeah, 78 laps around there is not easy.
Like you don't really get a rest because you're either prepping for the next brake zone or adjusting your bias, or you're in a corner.
Yeah, especially like when the old car had the anti-roll bars. You were moving them out of 1-2 up to the hairpin, and then you were moving them again out of there to the last corner. And because the braking zones changed so much that you've got a straight braking zone for the hairpin.
Yep.
But then turn 1-2 is over a crest while turning, so you run a lot more rear brake there. So the bias adjustments are actually quite big as well. So turn 1-2, you're winding it back, and then as soon as you exit there, you're winding it forward, and then you're doing a roll bar change, typically to try and get some drive out of the hairpin.
Yep.
So it's one of those places that, you are working really hard. It's probably a relief there's no roll bars this year in the new car, but it is a physical track. And also the braking zones are big, so your lower back is one of those things that can get pretty tired by the end of the race.
The hairpin and also the last corner, essentially, that's kind of, I know in our cars, that's kind of the highest brake pressure we'll see all year. Like it's even, in our cars, even higher than the Chase at Bathurst and stuff.
Yeah, okay. I think our highest was Barbagallo used to be.
The last corner.
Because you're coming up that hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Like it is.
Like we're 1,000 PSI, high 9s in the Trans Am car.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And the tricky thing with like even 1-2, you're braking over a crest while turning. So, to give everyone a little bit of info at home, is like when you're turning and braking, you're trying to, modulate a brake pedal and adjust how much pressure you're applying while your knees are being pushed to one side. So all that goes through your lower back. So after 78 laps, trying to modulate a brake while your back's blowing up is not actually that easy. So it's not even just sometimes the hard brakes. It's when you're trying to control front lock over a crest while turning. All these little things after a couple of hours start to feel it. But it's a little bullring as well. So normally they got someone in front of you and up your ass for the entire race. Like finding track position is king, but it's nearly impossible on a 50-second lap.
Yeah.
Really hard. Qualifying format, mate. I've put in there. I don't know what.
I'm glad you put that in because I know in New Zealand it was an absolute shit fight. And I mean, commentary didn't know what was going on. Teams didn't know what was going on. There's a pole check getting rolled down at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you've put this in there and you can just explain it to our listeners because
the good
it needs
thing
a bit
is,
of explanation.
And we talked about this at the pub last week, you and I over dinner. We were like, I do think they are listening because some of the stuff that happens or changes, we're like, we've talked about so much. And the format at Taupo was so fucking confusing because every weekend they change it.
Yeah.
So we were getting text messages from people asking us what's going on. People in the pit didn't know. Like you said, Supercars didn't even know because they rolled the pole check.
You're in the garage. We were messaging you and you're like, I'm actually not sure what's happening.
Yeah, I had no idea. So one thing I'd say is Supercars should simplify this and run, I think they should just run the same qualifying format every weekend. Just because if fans tune in and we want to try and reach a broader audience, you don't want it to be confusing. And especially when you tune in and the commentators don't know what's happening, you just change the channel because you don't know how the format works.
It's like playing a board game when you don't know the rules. It's not very fun.
Exactly. Unless you're playing against the 10-year-old, like when I played my nephew, then I'm able to cheat because he doesn't know the rules.
Still beat me.
But, I do think Supercars are listening because what I was going to say is their website yesterday, they issued a qualifying explained press release, which was good. But I will note they got it wrong.
Is there a schedule up yet?
I don't know. But I will note that Supercars, if you are listening to this one as well, you got qualifying format 3 incorrect. So qualifying 3 or format 3 is what they're going to use on Sunday.
Yeah.
And on the website, if you did look, what they got wrong was all 24 cars hit the track for part 1 in format 3 and the slowest 6 are knocked out. They then wrote that 16 cars returned for part 2, which is a very simple mistake. It's obviously 18 because 6 have been knocked out.
It's typo, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And then, then you're left with 10 drivers because 6 get knocked out in part 2, and then the top 10 go into a top 10 shootout. So that's, I actually think that format right there would be just a good format for every weekend going forward.
I agree.
And that's Sunday's format. Now, so Saturday's format.
Yep.
Is
format 2.
A little bit different, which is, I think this one might be new this year, but format 2 is a 2-part knockout qualifying format. All 24 drivers hit the track for part 1, where the fastest 10 go through to an all-in session in part 2 to decide pole. Yep. I just don't think that one's that exciting, but that is what they're doing for the first 2 races on Saturday, and Sundays is kind of like what we used to see. I think Perth, where they tried this the first time, and I think even Tassie actually back in the day, that was one of the first rounds they tried this, but I quite like it. I think it's good. It's easy to follow. It's literally 24 go out, 6 get knocked out, and then another 6 get knocked out and you're into your top 10 shootout. Yeah, that is the format. So hopefully everyone understands that a little bit more. What about their genius idea of this entertainment session between the 2 quali sessions on Saturday, mate? What do you think's going to happen there?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an engineer's bloody nightmare, I think, because they'll roll out some drift cars, probably no doubt, and there'll be shit all over the circuit because generally at Tassie they roll out turn 2 there. On the left-hand side of turn 2 there's like a little extended section where there's a corner from the drift through and stuff. Yep. Just like I'm all for drift. I think drifting is a great entertainment piece, but I wouldn't do it in between a quali session.
Well, we don't know for sure that's what it is though.
I'm calling it.
So between the 2 qualifying formats in qualifying sessions on Saturday for both races, there's a 10-minute break. And, they've added an entertainment session. And
10 minutes, the only thing you get in 10 minutes is either motorbikes doing skids or cars doing skids. So I'm tipping it's going to be one of the 2 doing skids.
So if they do that, that's just ridiculous.
Well, it's frustrating because, the teams are trying to gear up for a known surface and a known track condition.
Yeah.
And then you change it, which they might say is entertainment, but it's kind of just annoying. Like from a team and driver's point of view, you just want to know what you got and you want to try and go and maximise.
Well, you want to see the drivers make the most of their cars as well, and that will bring its own mistakes, people locking up. You don't need to throw out a bunch of marbles after some drifters. If it's drifting, it's a fucking terrible idea. You shouldn't have drifting in the middle. Like you look at F1.
Do you reckon they'll change it now? Because we'll drop this before obviously the round and then we'll look completely stupid.
Oh, hopefully.
Yeah, that's the plan. We want to change if it is. Yeah,
I'm prepared to look stupid. It happens all the time.
Standard day.
Yeah, don't do a drift session, expression session between. I did laugh though. I said to a mate of ours, I was like, maybe they just put in a historical session in the 10 minutes and just have a bunch of old shitters dropping oil.
Well, it's 10 minutes anyway, so it's not a long period of time. What I would do potentially is the cars that get bumped out, I would just have reporters ready to go, and on the big screens around the track, just interview them. Get some raw emotion or something like that, because it's only 10 minutes you've got a pad.
Yeah.
So you only need a couple of minutes of interviews, and then the cars are lining back up ready to go. So
it's not long between to keep the fans entertained.
Or it gives people time to go grab a hot dog and have a piss or whatever. So.
Yep. You want the track to be the same. But anyway, the strategy for Saturday races.
What's the hot strategy, mate? What do we run in the AHU car?
What do we run? I don't know. Hopefully you just got a fast car that turns and drives out of the corner, because that's what you need at Tassie to be quick.
Never had one of them. Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's driver related. That's the organic spacer you need to change there, mate.
That's true.
The biggest question mark Saturday's races is 2 tyres, 3 or 4.
What would you do? Let's say you're running top 5. Does that alter your strategy at all? Obviously, depending where you are in the grid, mate, like in the field.
If I'm running top 5, you'd probably do the 2 to maintain track position.
Right.
I think if you're further back than that and you're trying to make your way to the podium, you're going to want to do a 3 tyre or 4 tyre. But
if you're doing 3, you're going loaded side, but 2 rears and a right front.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it also depends on the team, because I know in the past we've actually just done 2 because we weren't confident we could do a fast enough tyre stop. You know, like we were losing time on a 2 tyre stop, let alone trying to do 4. So it depends how confident you are in your team as well. I think some of the big teams, like we saw last year, Chaz did a really good job. I think he took 3 tyres in one of the races and got through to the podium.
Yep.
I think Will did 4, but he was outside the top 10 when he did the 4.
And that worked for him too, right?
Yeah, I believe so. So I think he got to 2nd actually.
Yeah, he was on the podium, yeah.
So that's why I think the further you are back, the more inclined you are to take some risk. But also you're probably going to go quite long into the race as well. So if you're going to do 3 or 4 tyres, I think you're better off going late.
Well, if you're up the front, you are too, aren't you? You're going to go long.
No, not if you're doing 2.
You'd go early, you reckon?
Not so much early, but the biggest thing with 2 tyres is you don't want to have a big offset in the tyre wear.
Right.
So if you wait too long, you can do 2 tyres and the car balance is like horrific, because the pressures and the tyre wear on the left-hand side is so bad that you put a green set on and even under braking, the thing tracks and it just doesn't, the drive's horrific. You don't actually get much of a benefit. So you do have to be careful how long you go into the race if you're doing 2, because you want to keep the car balance quite similar.
Yeah.
But 4 tyres or 3, you go late because you get a bigger offset and then you're later in the race. So they've got worse tyres and you've got a bigger advantage. So it's just a bigger overcut. It's like Sunday, I think they're saying that the overcut, you want to be at least, if you're going for an alternate strategy, it's got to be at least 10 laps on a different car to be able to pass them.
I know they're all predominantly, pretty much every corner is a left-hander there, so your loaded side's your right side. But anyone going to just do rears, you think, to help with the drive off because of the straights?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And as you're saying, to try and counteract that change in, sometimes when you do a side, as you're saying, the other side,
Yep.
it's so pressured that you then get this sort of, your platform becomes a bit wonky and it just throws it out the window. Like
Yeah.
I know.
Well, that's if you're doing the rears, you'd probably be able to go. You'd want to go, a little bit earlier, just because of you don't want to have, fucked front tires and then you chuck greens on the rear. But that is something that during the race, the drivers and engineers chat about a fair bit. And I'll ask you what's your turn like. If you've got a heap of turn, the thing's pretty nervous. You
Go on
do
the
rears.
ARB. Oh wait, you can't.
Exactly. But yeah, that's what makes this place fun. Like you're having those conversations during the race. It's rare that I've been there and gone, mate, I've got so much turn, just slap some rears on it will be good. Like I've always struggled a bit at the hairpin. You just never seem to have enough.
Well, the thing is too, because as you said earlier, mate, the brakes get a punishing there.
Yeah.
So your front tyre's generally going to flog out because of temp as well, because your rotors or your brakes are that hot because of the stop at the hairpin, stop at the last corner.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep, obviously, tyre temp down on the front as well.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll see right hand side and rears. I think I don't know what it'll end up being. I think it will depend on the car's balance. But that's what these 2 races I think are.
So give us your key. Let's say you're running 5th, mate. What strategy? Your strategy as a driver? What would you call? You're running 5th. Everything's going well. The car feels good. What strategy will you roll?
Oh my god.
I love putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's usually something you while driving having this chat over a few laps, which is. Can you give me 6 minutes?
Yeah, no worries.
and
mate.
someone way smarter than me on the other end of the phone to help me.
You're waiting for Andrew Edwards to send you a text or something, mate.
No, honestly, I don't know. Like, we'll all be experts in hindsight. And even during the race, we'll see someone do it, roll out and struggle and go, oh, I wouldn't have done that. But that is, yeah, it's tough. Like, I think if you've got a quick car and you're in the top 5, you're doing 2 tyres.
I'm going 2 and rears only.
Yeah, I was about to say, you go heap of turn, you're doing 2. If you're in that position, 2 and rears only. Yeah. But I think, I hope a lot of people take the 3 though.
Yeah.
Because when you got that, and that's why there's a big difference. Because if people do rears, you take 3, you've got a fresh front right, and your turn is so good you can come and turn under people. I would say, say you want to go aggressive and you're like 5th to 10th, 3 tyres, and I think you'll get on the podium. If
you're doing 3, would you not just do 4? Like, does it save you much time?
It's quite a bit, yeah. I think so. I think so, yeah. I think it's 4 tyre stops 4.5 to 5 seconds. Yeah, I don't actually know how.
I kind of feel like
what the time difference would be.
Well, because one side's got to do 2 anyway, so it wasn't the other side.
But it will affect you for the next day as well, won't it, or the next race?
For tyres that you've got left.
No, it's a different tyre allocation for Saturday's races, isn't it?
I just feel you're going 3, go 4. Stuff the expense.
I don't know. Let us know your strategies in the comments and see if anyone else.
Actually, this would be good. What lap would you do it? What lap are you pitting? What's your strategy? Throw us what you got. We'll get some AHU engineers going.
Yeah, it's a 50-lap race. What lap are you pitting and what strategy? I like it.
So that's Saturday, mate. So there's 2 of those bad boys.
Well, and also if you want a little bit more info, the overcut's way more effective than the undercut at Tasmania because you lose about almost half a second at the hairpin on the outlap.
Right.
So you struggle that much for turn on the outlap that if someone pits, you can go the next lap and actually overcut them. But one thing I remember is if you've overcut them and you're only just in front going up to the hairpin, you're pretty much a sitting duck at the hairpin because you can't brake deep enough because you won't get the turn. So you've got to brake early, and often a car can actually outbrake you straight down the outside and roll around you. So
we've seen that before, haven't we, in supercars?
Yep. So often you'll come out of it and go, fuck yeah, I got the overcut, and then you're going down to the hairpin, they're on your rear bar, and you go, okay, like what am I going to do here? You brake deep, they just switch you back. You brake early, they drive around you. So it's just one of those cool tracks. But the overcut is more effective than the undercut, which is always good.
The undercut's risky too. Well, I mean, as we touched on earlier, because trying to get out of pit lane's not always smooth sailing as well. So if you get dropped in the wrong spot and you get balked out of there too, that can obviously hurt. So trying to plan it when there's obviously less traffic is always
exactly
always the go.
And if you're behind the guy and he peels in, you actually get a lap of clean air too. So you can, like, that's where an overcut can really work for you. The big one on Sunday, I think, it's a 78 lap race.
Yeah.
4 tyres because fuel will likely cover it. So I think everyone's going to do 4.
It's a 2-stopper, isn't it, mate? You said
2-stopper. The first window, like if you're going to go early, it's probably before lap 20. If you're going a little bit later, it's probably like mid-20s. But I don't really. I mean, to be honest, that shit doesn't really matter, does it? That's the Larco stuff. I think what's interesting is just the fuel churn, and as a fan, seeing where cars drop out and watching them come through if they do go a little bit later in the first stint. Push the can down the road a little bit and see what their offset and pace is going to be like coming through the field again.
Yeah, and I always enjoy the races that have more pit stops. A little bit like NASCAR, they have so many stops throughout a race because it adds that pressure to the team, the crew that are doing the tyres and the fuel and all that stuff, and opens up potential for mistakes or potential for teams to nail it. So I think anytime we can throw more pit stops in,
bloody oath,
better, because that's a massive part of the entertainment, and it's a massive part of it being a team sport.
Yeah, and 50-second lap. Like if you lose 1 second in the lane,
it's huge.
It's a massive percentage as opposed to like any other tracks. Really, most of them are like a minute 20, minute 30. So on such a short track, it's you make one mistake in the pit lane, you lose 3 or 4 spots on the track. Like it's a really hard thing to avoid. But 2 stops, like you say, is good because it gets everyone more involved, and there's more chance of shit going wrong and the race being more exciting.
Yeah. What do we got from, I mean, we've got some last year results there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that you really put these in because it helps us with the predictions for this year and seeing who struggled there last year. But Brock Feeney polled Saturday. But the one...
Triple Eight are historically really strong in Tas, aren't they?
I think I saw on the Supercars website, might have been Supercars, but they said that, Triple Eight's won like twice as many races as any other team at Tasmania. So it is one of those tracks that suits them. But Cam Waters and Tickford last year as well were very strong. So
I reckon Cam's going to get up. I mean, we'll get to predictions later, but I've got a feeling for them.
yeah. So Brock Feeney, though, bounced back, but that's this year. We're waiting to see if he bounces back. But yeah, last year he poled Saturday's race.
50.9 too. He dipped under the 51s.
Yeah. Yeah, fast times. I mean, there's nothing in it, though, is there? There's
It's bugger all, man.
in saying that, though, the gaps across the top 10 was 0.4 of a second, which is more than Sydney Motorsport Park, which for Tassie is actually pretty unique.
Yeah, that's strange. The first couple are about right under a tenth to about fourth,
Yeah.
which is usually pretty accurate. But yeah, that surprised me a little bit. But I think this year it's going to be bloody tight.
I agree.
Like I reckon, I'm going to call it now. I reckon it'll be 0.2 across the top 10.
Yeah. I think it's a good shout. Tassie's a frustrating track too. Like you lock a wheel and you're like,
It's not even as big as a wheel lock. It's like if you just a half a shift light early on your shift off the back straight, you're done. It's. And hopefully you guys listening can appreciate it. If you see someone put like the pole lap together, understand that they have been perfect on that lap.
Tassie's one of those
every
places.
gear shift is perfect. Every brake, everything is just as good as it gets because, as you say, like you're splitting hairs at that joint, and the slightest mistake, you're cooked.
There's no worse feeling when you catch the limiter on the back straight or something, and you're like, fuck, like you know your lap's done. You're just like sitting there and you're pressing the throttle even harder. You're like, come on.
It's the worst feeling.
But yeah, so Brock was pole on Saturday and Cam was second.
Yep.
Brody actually was quick there last year, but DJR weren't overly strong. Like Anton qualified in the 10, he was 8th on Saturday, but Sunday, I think both of them struggled. Anton was 17th and Davo was 15th on Sunday in qualifying. So it'll be interesting to see this year whether DJR have improved because going by the pace of Tickford last year, it certainly was not a problem for Ford. So they had a 1-2 in Sunday qualifying last year, Randall on pole and Waters on second. And this was one of the frustrating things I think as a fan. Last year, a lot of people were saying the Ford was really struggling. But when you get a 1-2 in a Ford, I think it actually just highlighted the other Ford teams weren't doing a good job because the rest of the top 10 were all Chevs. But it does show what a Ford is capable of there. And I think this year, we've both got a gut feeling that there's some changes that are going to be taking place, and I think the Fords this weekend will be quite strong. So DJR could be one to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. And last year in the race one there, Nick Percat actually won it.
He did.
MSR. So
that was one of those ones, I think he got the Overcut, and the TV were sleeping on him. They didn't even realise. And he just popped out in front and they were like, how has this happened? But MSR were actually pretty strong all weekend.
And they're in good form.
They are. I put them in my ones to watch in my predictions for the weekend. Just thought, they're doing a really good job and they backed up the Grand Prix in Taupo with Cam Hill there as well. I know Nick had a bit of a struggle, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. But yeah, they're going to be one to watch.
Sunday qual from last year, we had Thomas Randall on pole, Cam Waters, so again, Tickford 1-2 as you mentioned, mate. And then we had David Reynolds in third.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was the race where Randall got into Brock and then he went to go apologise and that was that whole thing. So in the race results, Cam actually won the race, Will Brown was second and Bryce Fullwood for BGR was third.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a mixed bag of fruit in the race results.
What's your thoughts on that pit thing with Dutto?
I think I said, I thought it was maybe a bit of an overreaction, but then now that hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? I think it was good for the sport. I think showing the personality, emotion, and when Dutto...
What was an overreaction though?
I thought maybe Dutto saying, like, stopping him was maybe a bit of an overreaction.
Yep.
But now that I've had time to think about it, and obviously then Dutto's coming out with his side, which was basically saying he was protecting his star. He didn't know if he was going down to spray him, whatever. Like, he's got a role to do. I can appreciate that. I can also now appreciate that we're wanting entertainment. So that stuff is great. Like, that's why we love NASCAR, because half time they get out, spray each other and throw fists.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of adds to the... So I think I'm all for it. Like, let's show the passion. Let's show the emotion, the raw emotion.
Yeah.
And I think at the time I was like, oh, maybe you didn't need to do that. Maybe I felt a little bit bad for Thomas in that situation. But now I look back and I'm like, I would have done the same.
Why do you feel bad for Thomas? It was like the softest, like all he did.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't aggressive at all.
He didn't even push. All he did was put his hand on his chest and like, don't take another step forward.
I think
he didn't even like really. I mean, you should.
he just went.
You should
"Nah,
be
mate,
allowed
not
to
everyone."
like fucking shove him out of your garage. Like, I mean,
I
it should be
agree.
like escort him down the lane and tell him to eat
Eat a bag of big ones. I I agree,
like
mate.
I think.
But at the time, I think I just felt bad for him because he threw away a good result. Like,
yeah, but he's steering this car.
I get that. I'm just saying I felt for him in that
Yeah.
moment. So that's why I thought maybe it was. But now I'm like, no, I would have done, like if I was Dado, I would have done the exact same thing, mate. I would have been roped. I would have been like, piss off.
I think all the teams should not be. I think if you go down to their garage and it's they should be able to, as long as you're not throwing a fist. We're not kids. Like it to put hand on someone. If you're intimidated by that, like just go home. You know what I mean? Like but every team, I loved it. I actually think, and I saw
You should absolutely be able to go down and tell someone what you think.
Yeah, but like just equally, they should be able to escort you out the garage too.
Yeah, if someone come into your office or your house, it's their house essentially, right?
Exactly.
Someone walked in your house, started calling you a wanker. You grab them by the scruff neck, you throw them out on nature.
100%. Yeah. So I do think that either way, I think it was good for the sport, like you say. I think it was a massive overreaction. Like it's like a nanny state type reaction that we had over it.
The sport overreacted. It was the same with the Frosty and Barry thing when Frosty put Willie in the fence. That was Baz, in my opinion, had every right to go.
Yeah, for sure.
If that's what he felt in his back and his drive up, mate, get the fuck. Like I'm with that. I would have done. I've done that myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it. Heat of the moment. People want to see that stuff. That's part of the sport. So, we might see something. Will we see that again?
Hopefully.
I mean, Tassie does produce bang on racing sometimes because of that Constantina effect. You can get down at the hairpin and things like that. Obviously, we've seen some really big first lap crashes there. To the point where Trans Am did their very best to emulate that a couple of months ago. And I got caught up in that. It was like almost like they watched that race in the wet from a couple of years ago.
Carbon copy, wasn't it?
And just went, let's try this. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be action, I think, aplenty.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really tight. I think, to your point, mate, I think Tickford are going to be really strong. I think DJR are going to be strong. I reckon there's going to be probably 8 cars, maybe more, that are actually genuine chances to win. So I think it'll be exciting racing. I actually can't wait.
I'm actually just looking up the weather as well because there's one thing that Tassie can throw a spanner in the works.
Actually, wouldn't be.
It's not looking too bad actually. Rain today and tomorrow, but then finding up for the weekend. So top of 17.
Yeah, but you throw the oil down for drift
low
cars.
Of 6. Yeah, exactly. So actually, Tassie isn't likely to disappoint. It looks like it's actually going to be pretty fine up there. So down there. But yeah, I would love to have seen a little bit of weather because that year where the wet start, I mean, that was hectic.
I actually hope it's dry because I think that will produce better racing across the whole field.
Well, they'll actually race. I mean, they
sometimes when it's wet though, you just get the people that run away and.
Or they don't go racing.
Or we just park up, we put them back on the boat and we come home.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a race in 6 months' time, so we don't want to damage them.
Predictions, mate, what do you got?
Predictions, I've actually got down there, and this one, I mean, who remembers it? This one I think is not really...
You can't call that yet, can you? We do that post-show. You're not going to call who remembered now, are you?
No, I'm doing a prediction of who I think will remember and who I think will forget.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my guess. I reckon. So I'm just calling it rather than saying like a podium or anything. Yeah. I'm saying who remembered. I reckon Cam Waters this weekend is going to be strong. I think he'll be back. I think he'll get at least one of the 3 pole positions. I'm going to say he'll get 2. Okay. Maddie Payne is going to be the who forgets is my guess.
Bloody hell.
Just because last year they weren't that strong.
I've got some good predictions for you, I reckon.
Like Maddie Payne in Sunday's race finished down in 21st.
I'm going to go all 3 races for you too.
All right, hang on 2 seconds. Sunday quali, Maddie Payne qualified 19th. And then Saturday quali, Maddie Payne qualified 23rd. Okay. So just based on last year, I know he just won the JR trophy. Mm-hmm. I don't see him backing it up.
Right.
Sorry, Maddie. You're going to be the who forgot, and it's not the organic space's fault. Is what I'll say.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm going to give you some predictions.
Go for it. Well, you give me podium predictions?
Yeah, I'm going to go all 3 races. I'll give you top 3 for all 3 races.
Oh, go on then.
Race 1, I've got Brody first. I've got Waters in 3rd, and I've got Brock Feeney 2nd.
Why do we always go first, 3rd, 2nd?
I don't know. I was working on the fly then.
So Brock 2nd.
Race 2, I actually think James Golding's going to win it. I reckon Premier is going to get a win. They were strong there last year for speed, so I'm calling it.
Were they?
In Saturday's qual, they were like both in the 10, I think. Slady was quite fast, I think.
James Golding was 14th in Sunday's quali last year. So anyway, go on.
That's what I'm going. Golding first for race 2. I've then got Chaz second. I've got Will Brown third. And then the long race on Sunday, I've got an absolute smoky with Andre Heimgartner winning. I've got
Jeez, you're picking real smokies.
I've got Cam Waters, and then I've got Will Brown for third.
All right, I wouldn't go placing any bets on.
I'll tell you what, if I get all them right, put $10 down now, you'll win a fortune.
You would definitely win a fortune. You got first-time race winners in there.
Hey, I'm just throwing them out there.
All right, race 1. I think Randall will get a win in race 1. Second, Chaz. Third, Brock.
Okay.
Race 2, Waters, Will, Woody.
Right.
And race 3, the big 78 lapper, I think will be Brock will win on Sunday.
Mr. Sunday, they call him.
They do. Second, I'm trying to think of an outsider, someone that...
Dave Reynolds.
Oh,
Throw him in
no.
there.
Cam Hill, again, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shout. Yep.
And third... Oh, I've totally forgot about Brody. Oh, I've really fucked this up. I think DJR is going to be one of the quickest teams as well, and I've totally forgot. All right.
Brody third then?
Brody's third, but I think Brody actually could win a race this weekend.
Oh, no, you
so I've
didn't
really
say
screwed that up. So sorry, DJ. I've just totally forgot.
Well, there you go. There are our predictions. And you know what? There's absolutely no process that was involved in that. That was just off the cuff.
No,
that's
just
what we're
plucking
going
them.
with.
So we want to hear yours too, because once they're in writing, you can't.
Correct.
So put them in the comment section. Let us know. But let us know who you think is going to get the results in all 3 races. Can T8 bounce back?
Yeah.
Tassie typically has been good for him. What do you think?
Always strong. I mean, you'd be a fool to count them out. So yeah, they'll be there somewhere.
MSR definitely going to be one to watch this weekend. Hopefully, for Nick,
MSR
they bounce back.
Will be strong. It's one of those places we said there's 8 to 10 cars that can absolutely win a race this weekend. It's competitive as at the moment. The racing's been awesome. We saw some fireworks on Sunday's race last year. I'm tipping going on how this year's been rolling. We're going to get some fireworks at some point. So it's literally anyone's bet. Tell us what you guys think. And, we're going to be tuning in here on the Sunday.
Ford, what do you think about them this weekend? Do you think, because last year was a bit of a Camaro Cup except for the Tickford cars?
Ford are going to really start to hit their straps, I reckon.
Okay, just the gut feeling you got?
From now on, gut feeling, I just think a couple of tweaks here and there.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I think there's been probably a few emails thrown around, and I reckon that they're going to get a bit of a turn of speed.
There you go. Well, that's our predictions and hopefully a little bit of insight and information ahead of the weekend. And hopefully you do understand qualifying a little bit more. If not, Supercars did put out that thing, and you can go read it yourself.
Not, don't blame us, guys.
Yeah, I think it's looking like a good weekend though. I think, like you said, the racing being more aggressive is going to be good.
I can't wait to come back in, mate, and have a beer with you and watch it. So it should be good.
Sunday, 78 lapper if you want. Join us on YouTube. We'll live stream it.
Yep. Thanks, guys.